All right, for more on this, let's bring in political analyst Elizabeth McCallion with the University of Toronto. Elizabeth, the pomp and circumstance of all this, do you think it was an effective reaffirmation of Canadian sovereignty?
Well, I think it certainly was a symbolic moment for Canadians. In terms of Canadian sovereignty, I think there's been a surprising amount of focus on the fact that the King came from the UK. I saw a couple Union Jacks waving outside the Senate while he was giving the speech. So I think the Governor General's Twitter account had a gaffe yesterday where they kind of said between our two nations rather than, focusing on the King as the King of Canada. So it's a bit of each. The Canadian sovereignty certainly seems that Canadians are heartened right now, but in terms of what the King is doing coming from the UK, there's questions there about King of Canada versus King of UK.
All right, let's talk about the speech itself. Canada joining the Rearm Europe in a bid to move away from reliance on U.S. military equipment. Do you think that's good policy?
Right. Well, I'm not a defense policy expert, but I think Canada and a lot of other countries have been kind of shaken awake by Trump's threats of tariffs and this kind of muddling of the world order. And so it's always a good idea to diversify your trade and procurement. And so that it seems to be what is going to be happening going forward for Canada, less of a reliance solely on the U.S. for military equipment.
It also included promises of a middle-class tax cut, removing all internal trade barriers by Canada Day. Now, that's just a month away. Is there really enough time to remove all those barriers and get it done by July 1st?
Right. And not only is it about a month away, once you take out the opposition days from Parliament and the days for voting on the throne speech, there's about 8 days left for them to debate and vote on legislation. The middle class tax cut, I think, will be easier for them to get through. It's been kind of a central pillar to the campaign. Reducing trade barriers between provinces requires a lot of negotiating between the federal and provincial governments, and much of those trade barriers exist at the level of provincial legislation. So it's kind of disingenuous to say you're just going to legislate it all away because it's not completely within the power of one government to do that.
And now the Conservative Pierre Poilievre said he had wanted that there would be commitments to build pipelines for oil and gas. Carney did say he wants Canada to be an energy superpower. And given the sensitive relations with Alberta right now, should the speech have included specific policies on oil and gas and pipelines?
Well, I think Carney's unlikely to bring in policies that strong, like wording strong as saying we're going to build pipelines, especially given what a hard shift that would be from previous liberal positions on that. I was surprised to hear how much policy was mentioned that was really more conservative talking points, especially regarding crime and energy in general. So you can only ask for so much in terms of the concessions that the government is giving to the opposition policy-wise. But I think that's something that they're going to have to kind of duke it out in the House of Commons over pipeline bills.
That's political analyst Elizabeth McCallion. Elizabeth, thanks so much for giving us some of your time tonight.
Thanks for having me.